Shalom Aleichem to everyone. As Asher Yeshno Poi, those who are here. As Asher Benenu Poi, those who are on Zoom. I first want to thank Rabbi David Bar for organizing such an evening. It is indeed an evening that has much importance. The first time I think that such an evening ever was organized, and I hope it will be the Kvod HaTorah and Tifarto, that people should understand more about psychedelics, about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, have guidance from a theoretical point of view and from a practical point of view as well. I also want to thank those people who sent shilas. The truth is that all those questions that were sent cover more or less what I had in mind to speak about, but it's nice to see exactly how people put down their questions. I'm going to try to cover them all. The first question that was sent is as follows: is this something that should be used only for mental health reasons, or is it something people should use for spiritual growth? Okay, is this, first of all, we have to define this. Okay, so this means psychedelics in general. Psychedelics is a big term. It includes mushrooms, it includes ayahuasca, it includes wachuma, it includes bufo, it includes ketamine maybe, it includes sassafras canna. There's some others that people never heard of. There's yopo, there's all different kinds of psychedelics. All of them.
Does it include breathwork?
Breathwork is not a psychedelic, it's not a substance.
Okay. Important to substantiate.
Yes, it has nothing to do, even though breathwork could bring a person to almost the same experience as psychedelics. And for people, especially people who are on medication, who for some reason cannot do psychedelics, breathwork is a very, very valuable alternative. But the topic tonight is about psychedelics. Is this something that should be used only for mental health reasons or for spiritual growth? And I'm going to preface my words with what Rabbi David Bar said before. We are not going to paskin on individual shilas, if one particular person should do it or should not do it. What I'm going to say is just general. We talk about mental health reasons. Mental health reasons includes people who suffer from anxiety, people who suffer from depression, people who suffer from addictions, people who suffer from panic attacks, and some other conditions. All these conditions and more have their root in trauma. And that's why people turn to psychedelics. Why don't they go to regular talk therapists? Because talk therapists, I don't think, ever cured people from trauma, and never will. Because when a person suffers trauma, the trauma is absorbed in the subconscious part of the mind. Talk therapy addresses the conscious part of the mind. That's not where the trauma is stored. That's not where the trauma is locked in. And therefore, talk therapists will never be able to heal trauma. There's other therapies out there that are helpful for trauma. Somatic therapy, IFS, craniosacral, hypnotherapy, and many others that are really helpful in healing trauma. However, they will take a long time. Psychedelics is a tremendous shortcut. People could achieve in a matter of months what would take years to achieve. I personally have experienced more than once people who suffered from depression or other conditions for years and years. And they did psychedelics one time, one night, and they were completely cured. It's a minority of cases. Most of the time, psychedelics will require much more than just one session. But it gives a glimpse to the power of healing that psychedelics carry. And therefore, I consider it a mitzvah. It's not a chiyuv. A mitzvah for somebody who suffers from any of these conditions to consider doing psychedelic ceremony. Person has to be evaluated. It's not for everybody. Even when it's for somebody, it's not necessarily, the person is not necessarily ready for it right now. Sometimes the person needs some other type of work before he's ready to do psychedelics. But at least it's something that a person should. It's a mitzvah. It's not a chiyuv for a person to consider psychedelics. This is in the field of mental health. People who want to do it for spiritual growth, people who are not suffering from mental issues, but they want to do it for spiritual growth, this is a totally different situation. And it's not something that could be answered on a general basis, but only on an individual basis, and we already said we are not going to address that. But I'm going to combine my answer together with another question that was asked, if there is any makor in Chazal, in the Torah, about psychedelics. I personally have not found any makor. But I could tell you one thing. There's few types of psychedelics. There's mushrooms that contain psilocybin. There's 5-MeO-DMT, such as Yopo and such as Bufo. And there's ayahuasca, which is a combination of ayahuasca and chacruna. Particularly in ayahuasca, it's a combination of two plants. Chacruna is a plant that provides the DMT, which is a psychoactive ingredient. And ayahuasca is there to help the process. There's another way to prepare ayahuasca. It's by using ayahuasca and acacia wood. Acacia wood contains 6 times more DMT than chacruna. Acacia wood is called atzei shittim. In other words, the Mishkan was built with wood that had a high concentration of DMT, of psychedelics. The Mishkan was built with psychedelics. You know, I'm not here to say pshatim exactly why, but I think it's quite interesting and significant. It says in the Zohar, Atzei shittim oimdim eilu malochim. Atzei shittim are compared to malochim. At the same time, it says in Svarim that Atzei shittim is Gematria Satan. So here we have the Atzei shittim that are compared to malochim, and we have Atzei shittim that are compared to Satan. And I think this is a perfect illustration of what psychedelics could do. It could be used for growth and for healing. And it's like Malachim. It says in Parshas Pinchas, in the Zohar, that chotu b'shittim v'nizchapu b'shittim. It's mashma that there's a koyach harafua in shittim. At the same time, shittim is Gematria Satan. People who want to do it for spiritual growth, it depends on the people. For some people, it really helps them grow in Yerushalayim, in in Avodas HaTfilah, Nizkar B'Shakadosh Baruch Hu, and the whole Avodas Hashem gets elevated. And for some people, it's just the opposite. They feel that this is a source of spirituality. They don't need to concentrate in Avodah and on Limud Torah and on other things. They found a new way of connecting to Hashem, and it really turned them away from the true purpose of a Yid on this earth. So a person has to be very careful. If a person does it for healing, it's a mitzvah. If a person tries to do it for spiritual growth, it has to be carefully evaluated. I'm going to infringe on the Halachic of my shutfim, but I do want to say something over here. I said that people who want to do it for healing, it's a mitzvah, it's a chiyuv to at least consider such a thing. I want to make it clear that as much as it's a mitzvah to consider, it's an avera to consider doing it on your own. It's very easy to go on the internet and to get magical mushrooms and to put some music in your living room, to relax on your couch, and to take a couple of grams of mushroom and go on a trip. It's a isur gomo. There's no heter for that. To go on a journey without a sitter who is there to make sure that you're safe, to make sure that while in your trip you don't have a vision that you have to take another 10 grams and overdose, to make sure that you're not panicking and jump out of the window because you want to commit suicide from all the visions you have, things that we know these things have happened and could happen. Doing psychedelics is a safe thing when it's in the right environment. When it's done without a right environment, it's a isur gomo. Nobody should ever say that I permitted such a thing. Question number 2. Is it a mitzvah to obey the law of the land? No, I'm sorry. It is a mitzvah to obey the law of the land. How does that apply to psychedelic work? I will answer as a religious Jew. I will answer with another question. Imagine that the American government bans all antibiotics, and Rahman Yitzran, somebody is suffering from infection, pneumonia, or whatever, and he could go on the internet and buy, a run of antibiotics to cure himself. Should he abide to the law and just dive into Hashem, or does he have a chiyuv of his status to get antibiotic in the black market and take? I think it's obvious to all that Dina de Malchus Dina doesn't apply to things that relate to your private life and not things that relate to your health. Is that what you need in order to heal? No government could rule that you're not allowed to do it. They don't want you to do it. That's their problem. You have to do what you have to do. When what's at stake is doing psychedelics which might cure a person in a matter of weeks or months, or be stuck with other therapies that will take at best a few years to heal him, I don't think that there's a shaila here. Question number 3. Is that a form of forbidden witchcraft? Are psychedelic a type of kishuf? I don't know. To me, there are plants that were created 5,700 84 years ago by the Ribbon Shalom. Unfortunately, we came to the point that, if you take a pill, that's Ki Ani Hashem Rofecha. If you take plants, that's Kishuf. Okay? When Hashem created this Kishuf, what the lab created, that's Ki Ani Hashem Rofecha. That sounds right to me. We live in a world that has educated us that if you're sick with a physical disease, somebody suffers from diabetes, goes to the doctor, he gets a prescription for insulin, gets an insulin pump, taken care of. Person has an infection, goes to the doctor, gets a prescription for antibiotics, in a few days taken care of. If a person suffers from anxiety, let him go to a therapist for the rest of his life. If a person is suffering from depression, let him go to a therapist for the rest of his life. For all mental health issues, we are used to the concept that it's a matter of years, a lifetime. Therapists and psychiatrists will tell you that you can't cure anxiety. You can just manage it. Just keep on taking on your pills and you'll be good. So the Chisaron Emunah. Ribbon Shalom put into the world plants that have antibiotic properties, and Ribbon Shalom put into the world plants that would cure from more shayro, from anxiety, from depression. This is the emunah that we have to have, that Ribbon Shalom prepared for every type of disease, whether physical or mental. This is one of the questions. How can we understand the fact that there is something so powerful that goes from the ground in our world? How could we understand it? We don't have to understand it. We just have to accept it. The Ribbon Shalom took care of us all the way from the beginning of Ma'aseh Bereshis. He prepared everything we need. This is the emunah that we have to have. Psychedelics are not sorcery. It's not kishuf. It's not avodah zarah. But it seems really magical. A person in his trip starts seeing visions, unbelievable things about the past, about the present, about the future. I know a woman who suffered from depression for 40 years. She came to an ayahuasca ceremony. In one night she was cured. What happened? She told me that in our trip she saw that when her mother was pregnant of her, she was really pregnant of twins. But her twin never made it. And her entire life, she has been mourning her twin. That's why she was suffering from depression from young age. She said, as far as she could remember, she told me, I've been suffering from depression and loneliness. She never knew why. But during our trip, she finally understood where it was coming from. She said, in my trip, I was able to understand where it was all coming from. I was able to bring a closure to my peace with the fact that my twin didn't get to come to this world, and I have to go on by myself. And she said, once I understood that, my depression disappeared.
You stand on.
I spoke to her a year later, and she told me the depression is gone, never came back. Son?
My question is not as much of the medicines being bishop, but the ceremonies that surround it. Some of them.
Yes, I understand. I'm going to come to that.
Okay.
So where does such knowledge come from? If this is not kishuf, so where is it coming from? So my understanding is that what psychedelics do to a person, the mechavek, the kesher that exists between the nefesh and the neshama. You know that the neshama of a person is really divided into three parts: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. The nefesh is what gives the body the power to act, to move, to function. The ruach, the part of the neshama that allows emotions, and neshama is a part that gives a person seichel, power to think, power to decide. David HaMelech said in Tehillim, the nafshi yaidas me'oid. The neshama of the person knows everything that ever happened. There's no limit to the knowledge that's stored in the neshama. Rav Dessler, really, the Makor of Rav Dessler is in the Zohar, but Rav Dessler explains that the role of the brain is really not to allow a person to think. That is a chelek of the neshama. The brain is here to filter all the knowledge that is stored in the neshama. Because if a person would be aware of everything that is stored in the neshama, there would not be room for bechira. Because Rebbeinu Shalom wanted a person to have bechira, there had to be a way to limit the knowledge that reaches the conscious mind. That's the role of the brain. In a psychedelic session, the neshama, with it up high, gets more connected with the nefesh, which is connected to the human body. And therefore, a lot of knowledge that normally is hidden from us because it's stored in the neshama only, is able to cascade down all the way to the nefesh, all the way to the mind, and the person sees it in the vision. It's a little bit the same as a chaloim. A chaloim, a true dream, is a dream that's really coming down from the neshama. When a person sleeps, the neshama separates from the guf and goes up in shamayim and has access to all kind of ideas, and this trickles down all the way to the person in the form of a dream. And it's the same thing, the same process in psychedelics. People ask, is it to be believed? Could we believe everything that we see in a psychedelic session? Psychedelics is not different than dreams. The Gemara says, "Ein chaloim belidvon beteilim." The same way in psychedelics, not everything you see in a psychedelic session is to be taken literally, for face value. I remember I was in an ayahuasca session. I don't know if you were there. I was in the middle of the session. A woman came, and she told me in the middle, "Rabbi, do you do gittin?" I said yes. She told me, "I need a get now. I'm not going home. I saw in my trip that my husband is evil. Evil." She told me. I told her, "Go back to your seat and talk about it after. And talk about it after the session." After the session, I asked her, "Why do you say that your husband is evil? What does he do already?" So she told me all kind of things. I said, "Okay, he doesn't understand women. He's not behaving right. But he doesn't mean to hurt you, does he?" She said, "No, he doesn't mean to hurt me. So why do you say he's evil?" "I don't know. I saw in my trip he's evil." That's what she saw in our trip. It took her 3 days to understand that really the evil that she saw, that she applied to her husband, was really the fact that she suffered from sexual abuse when she was 7 years old, and it was all the evil of the perpetrators that did all that to her. There was nothing wrong with her husband. She was lucky, she realized that maybe 3 days later, but at least she realized that. Things are not always ein chalom b'nidvorim b'teidim in the same way with psychedelics. And that's why integration is very important, as Rabbi Davis is going to speak later. Integration is very important to be able to understand what happened in a session. One should not rely on his own understanding. One needs to take it over, especially when it has big repercussions, such as getting a divorce or anything like that. So the knowledge that comes through psychedelics has nothing to do with kishuf. The question is, what about all the practices that are done along the way? And I think there's big differences between psychedelics. You know, some psychedelics have very little folklore around them. Others have a lot. The only common denominator, and they all have music. I hope nobody is going to claim that music is kishuf. I hope I don't have to address that. It is amazing, the power of music on a psychedelic ceremony. The music really carries the healing. The music changes and the healing takes a different direction. The music stops and the healing comes to a halt for many people. How do you understand that? I really can't explain it, but I know that's the teva. At the teva of music, you find in Chazal, find in Psukim that in order to be zeicha to nevuah, you need the koyach of music. How does that work? I don't know either, but that's a fact. In order to activate the psychic ability of a person, in order to activate the ability of a person to connect to his neshama, you need a koyach of music. Let's leave it at that. It's not a koyach of kishuf, it's a natural koyach that Rebbeinu Shalom put into the world. What needs to be addressed is not so much kishuf. I don't think there is any kishuf in a psychedelic session. What might be is avodah zarah. I need to explain. Many times in a psychedelic session, especially ayahuasca, when it's done not by Frum Yidden, but it's done by Frei people or by Goyim, they will invoke different spirits. They will invoke the spirit of the ayahuasca. They will invoke the spirit of the mushroom. They will ask for the spirit of the plants to come, for the spirit of the plants to heal. That is equal to making a request from a malach, asking a malach to do something for you. That may be avodah zarah. That at least equals to tefillah to malachim. It's a big sugya out there. How come we daven every Friday night, we come home and we say Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Ashoreis, Malachi Elyon. How do we daven to malachim? We're not allowed to daven to anyone. It's one of the Yud Gimel Ikrim. And Imamim Be'emunah Shleima, but Rebbeinu Shalom is the only person to whom I should daven. And here, every Friday night, we daven to malachim. So there are Gedolim who were against. The Gedolim who allowed it, they relied on two reasons. One is that we're not asking the malachim to do anything but what Hashem sent them to do. On Friday night, Hashem sends malachim to a person, and if a person comes and everything is ready at home when he comes from shul, these malachim have a chiyuv from a Kabbalah Shalom to bench the person and to bless him. Rotzen that next week you should be zeichet to the same calm home with everything ready. So we ask the malachim to do what they are supposed to do. We're not asking them to do anything more than that, and that may be a justification. Another reason why it may be mutter is we're asking the malachim, not asking the malachim to do anything. We're asking the malachim to give us the bracha that comes from Hashem. They are just the intermediary between the Rebbeinu Shalom and us. Rebbeinu Shalom gave them a bracha to deliver. We ask them to give us the bracha to deliver. There is also a tefillah, Malach ha'arachamim meshor seyel yoin, chalun openei. We're asking the malachim to bring our tefillahs to Rebbeinu Shalom so that the Rebbeinu Shalom could answer, could be moichel and could bless us and could send us the shefa of bracha. We're not asking the malachim themselves to do something for us. But when we are praying to a malach, we ask him to do something for us, it's a shaila, it's a very, very serious shaila of avodah zarah, of being mispalel to Hashem. If a person does anything to appease the spirit to do what we ask him to do, if you burn incense to please the spirit in order you should do what you want to do, that's mamash chiyuv skira. That's mamash avodah zarah gemor. So in a psychedelic session, when such things are being done, whether burning incense to the spirits, whether praying to the spirits, whether thanking the spirit at the end of the ceremony, all that is mamash treif. I don't think that from psychedelic practitioners do that. I hope not. Although I know, unfortunately, these shaylas came to me. People who came, was in Eretz Israel a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago. People who came to me, they told me that one practitioner was told the group before to pray to Shamayim v'Oretz. That's how it's done. Another one told me that the facilitator at the beginning of the ceremony made a fire in the middle, gave everybody something, and said, okay, now throw a piece of wood or whatever he gave them, throw it into the fire and make a wish. I don't know. Who are you doing this to? If you're addressing the fire, it's avodah zarah to fire. You're bringing a carbon, you're burning a piece of wood to the fire, it's avodah zarah mamash. If you make the wish to Hashem, and you throw this piece of wood as a carbon to Hashem, it's chutei chutz. Not allowed to bring a carbon outside of Beis Mikdash. So I don't think there's any concern of kishuf in ayahuasca or other psychedelics, but there is true concern of avodah zarah. You have to be very careful. When a person joins a group ceremony, a person goes to Peru or to Florida, and he does psychedelic among goyim. The goyim are doing what they are doing. So you're not causing anything. If the person is going to pray to his spirit, that's his business. I'm not very pleased about it, and if a person could find 100% kosher ceremony, he has a chiyuv to do that. And Baruch Hashem, nowadays there's more and more good places to do psychedelics one doesn't need to run to some churches in Florida or some tribe in Peru to do psychedelics. But if a person does a private ceremony with some shaman from wherever, and this shaman is going to pray to his spirit, then you have a real concern of lifnei iver l'sitat mirsham, because you are really causing this to happen. If not for you hiring this shaman, he will not pray to his spirit tonight. But because you hired him and you're the only one there, so he's doing what he's doing because of you. It's a real concern of lifnei iver l'sitat mirsham. These are things that a person should keep in mind.
Lifnei iver to a guy also.
That the lifnei iver to a goy, if it's one of the mitzvahs that the goy is obligated to keep. If you give a ever menachai to a goy, you're ever lifnei iver. If you push the goy to do avodah zarah, it's lifnei iver or avodah zarah. Any questions so far?
If somebody would want to invoke protective power of the Malachim and say, B'Shem Elokei Yisrael, Memini Michael, B'Shem Gabriel, imagine the Malachim, they're protecting him. Is that?
So it's interesting that in this pasuk, that tefillah, Memini Michael, B'Shem Gabriel, Milfana Uriel, Ma'achai Raphael, is prefaced with B'Shem Hashem Elokei Yisrael. Without that, it doesn't go. You're not davening to Michael and Gabriel and Raphael. You're davening to Hashem. Many people ask me this question. They want to go to an energetic healer, a shaman. A lot of practitioners who normally would invoke angels. And what I tell them is, I normally ask to speak to the shaman, and I tell him, instead of praying to the spirit, invoking this angel, that archangel Michael, and says, for the Jewish clients, pray to God. Pray to God that He should send His angel and His spirits to guide you. That's okay. I once had and normally they never make me problems. There was one who didn't like the idea. He resisted a little bit. At the end he told me, it's okay, so are you going to tell my client that he could do it with you? So I said, it really depends on you. Are you going to commit to do it my way or not? So at the end he committed because he didn't have a choice. But his client told me that he was very reluctant. But at the end, the practitioner said, I wasn't happy doing it this way, but it worked much, much better than my other ways. From now on, I'm always going to do it like that. So you have to be careful.
There's something.
I'm reading the question over here. There's a question that I didn't understand. Does the Torah believe that these are separate entities, or are they just part of the subconscious? I don't know what the question is referring to. If somebody could explain, I'll be happy to try to answer. If not, I'm skipping.
I think they're referring to when you take DMT and you can see different kind of, I've been taking DMT, but different entities, different kind of alien-looking people. Is there any reality to what they're seeing?
I think I addressed this already. Ein chalom b'li dvarim v'teilim. Even a true dream, the Gemara says, even a true dream does not contain some parts that are not true. And the same thing is true for psychedelics. There's always parts that are not true. Sometimes the entire trip could be narishkeit, could be just no shaykhus to the healing that's really taking place under the work. So there's two levels. There's a healing that takes place, and there is a vision that is just random. Sometimes it's half and half. Sometimes it's 90% true and 10% not true. But yes.
There's a consistent recurrence from many people in many places that see certain beings or spirits, and they might be similar from different experiences. And so if it was just Dvarim B'Telem, then it's not likely that other people would have the same ones, the same Dvarim B'Telem. So if there are entities out there...
But it could be that the neshama creates, or the koyach hamedame is more or less the same by all people. Could be.
Okay.
It's very hard to answer this question. I mean, we believe that there are ruchos, we believe that there are malachim, we believe that there are shadim, and these could appear to a person even when he's awake, and kol shekain when he's in a dream state.
Could we entertain the tzad, that if we're connecting to the neshama, maybe we're able to get into the Olam HaMalachim and interact with them? Is that possible?
It's possible. Everything is possible.
People experience.
But at the same time, it's possible. You can't say this is what it is. I saw a being that was, 100 times higher than the and with 24 wings and this. Oh, it must be true. There are such entities. I wouldn't go so far.
There's some people that will say that you shouldn't do psychedelics for spiritual growth because even if it helps Rabbi Szmerla, it's a shortcut. It's not. It's a sitra or a shortcut.
I don't agree with that. If it's a shortcut, grab it. That's right. And I'm not the one who says it. The Sefer Haredim, at the end, I think in Perek Ayin Gimel, at the end of the Sefer Haredim, he has a whole arichus, a few prokim on tshuva, how to achieve tshuva shalayim. He has a few prokim on that, and afterwards he says, till now I told you the derech harucho. Now I'm going to tell you the derech ketzar. And he says because Hashem created in the world, even in the world Gashmi, there is derech harucho and derech ketzar. And he brings the whole story about somebody who was sick, and all the doctors, the prince of the land, and all the doctors were trying to heal him and he couldn't. And then somebody came and he took some plants from his backyard and he healed the prince 1, 2, 3. He said there are segulas, there are a shortcut.
That's for refuah, not for.
And he says just like there is for dvarim gashmi, so too for dvarim ruchnim. And he says in tshuva the same way. You could learn Rabbi Yoino, and I have to learn or work on all the shloshim madregas in order to reach complete tshuva and complete kapora. And he says there are shortcuts. He says I'm going to teach you the shortcuts, how to get to tshuva shleima. There's a shortcut, grab it. But it has to be a shortcut that brings you to a higher level of avodas Hashem. Not it's a shortcut that deviates you to a different direction. That's what I'm afraid of. Yes.
You mentioned about burning incense.
Yes.
Spirits being problematic. What about when people are burning incense?
So, it's on my list, but I'm going to address it now since you're bringing it up. In all ceremonies, I think, all ceremonies I've been at, the facilitator burns either sage or mapacho or palo santo. These are different herbs that are meant to clear the space from negative energy, clear the space from negative spirits. This is very, very different from burning incense in order to appease spirits. If you burn plants in order to, or any type of action that you do in order to appease a malach or a spirit or any other entity than Hashem, this is avodah zarah. It's also gomer, completely forbidden. However, if you burn different plants in order to dissipate bad energy, in order to kick entities away, that is perfectly mutter. The first one who talks about it is in Tshuvas Haradbaz, The Sutras and Advars that divides this into three categories. It says there's a way to burn incense and it's avodah zarah. There's a way to burn incense and it's oive yidoini. And there is a way to burn incense and it's completely mutar lechatchila. That's if you do in order lehavriach mazikim. If you do that lehavriach mazikim, it's completely mutar. And this is what's being done normally. A person should not be nervous. But if I could imagine people burning incense in order to invoke malachim, in order to appease them, that is not permitted. Yes.
So if a person that does it for mental health is chiyuv for just a spiritual.
It's a chiyuv to consider.
Consider it, yeah.
Okay.
Now, for not mental health, for spiritual growth, it's a question. My question is, if somebody does it for, let's say, mental health or anxiety, and over the course of a couple of months, their spouse doesn't have anxiety, doesn't have any mental health issues, they see the growth and so first of all, the question is if they should do it also, if they feel that. Well,
Means the spouse should do it.
The spouse.
So that's a private question that should be asked privately. This is every such child has to be evaluated individually. There's no answer I could give here. Another thing I want to address, very important, in psychedelics have two major effects on a person. Psychedelics heal, or rather psychedelic could heal. Psychedelics could teach. They could show a person about himself, about life, about his struggles, why did it have to happen, what a person has to do in order to get out of it, insights, knowledge, understanding. That's the teaching part of psychedelics. Everything has to be taken with a grain of salt, and that's where integration is so important. Not so much for the healing part. When a person gets healed through the ceremony, gets healed. You don't need integration for that. It's more the teaching part that needs integration. But sometimes a person could find himself in a place where he could ask questions. In his trip, during the ceremony, the person feels he could ask to himself, to his neshama, why did this happen? And he gets an answer. How should I deal with this? And he gets an answer. Is it mutter, is it permitted to ask such questions or not? And the answer is, it is permitted, provided that a person is not asking any question about the future. Any question regarding the future is not permitted. Will I win the lottery if I buy a ticket next week? No, you can't ask. What's the name of the person I'm going to marry? No, you can't ask. That's part of the issue of Tomim Tihim Hashem Elokecha. The Ramban explains the reason for that issue is because the future is not written in stone. Things could change. You could be shown that your zivug is rochel basleya, but then the day after the ceremony you said, wow, I had such a uplifting ceremony. You know, from now on, instead of spending my day in the business, I'm going to devote the first 2 hours of the day sitting in the Beis Medrash with a chavrusa and learning. Wow, such decision. On that at that moment, his mother has changed, and his zivug has changed. At that moment, his zivug is not Rochel Basraya anymore. He just lifted himself up to a different level. He deserves somebody else now. So he saw in his trip that his zivug is Rochel Basraya, and 12 hours later, it's not his zivug anymore. And a week later, he found out that Rochel Basraya just got engaged. Not a wonder.
You ask how to deal with a situation.
What? I'm sorry?
You ask how to deal with a situation.
That's integration, you know?
Not during the trip.
I think during.
I'm sorry.
You're going through a situation and you want to know how to deal with it.
You could ask how to deal with it, and you'll get an answer, and hopefully it will be an accurate answer.
Where is the answer coming from?
From the neshama.
So,
Now, I'm not, you know, can I guarantee that all the answers that we get is from the neshama? You know, there's always a possibility of, you know, the ruach and the nefesh, the koyach hamedame, to get involved, right? The koyach of dimyon, of imagination, which is not coming from the neshama, it's coming from the lower part, and it's not necessarily accurate. So you can't always. That's the first reason why you shouldn't trust what you see about the future. But the second thing is because the future is not written in stone, right? אפילו חרב חד או מנרחס על צערו של האדם, על ימנע האדם מהרחמים, because the Ruach could tear up a decree at any point, at any time. And that's one of the reasons why it is not permitted to try to figure out what's going to happen. You know, this is very applicable to a psychedelic session. Nobody is allowed to use the opportunity to try to find out what's going to happen. Sometimes you don't ask questions. On your own, you have a knowledge that, you know, this is going to be your source of parnasa. This is going to be your zivug. This is going to be how many children you're going to have. You know? I know someone. This is a side note story, but everybody loves stories. So I know someone, a woman. Unfortunately, she suffered tremendous trauma in her childhood, in her life. She did a lot of journeys, ayahuasca ceremonies. Eventually, she got married 2 years ago. A year later, she had a baby, Baruch Hashem. Just about a week ago, she went to a healer. Her healer is very talented. During the healing session, the healer said, you know, I feel I'm getting the message that you were supposed to suffer from infertility. But because of all the sorrows that you went through, Hashem decided to take that away and to give you a child right away. So she's told the practitioner, he said, wow, this is unbelievable. Because in one of my ayahuasca ceremonies, I had the vision that I would suffer from infertility. That there was a xera, that I would suffer for infertility for many years before marrying to have a child. And then I got married, and within a couple of months I got pregnant and I gave birth to a healthy child. And I really didn't understand. Here in my ceremony, I saw I would be infertile for many years, and it didn't happen. But now, with what you told me, everything is coming together. Now I understand. So, anything that has to do with future, we're not allowed to ask. But even if we get messages, we have to know to take it with a grain of salt, to daven the Ribbon Shalom, Ribbon Shalom is a koyach, to change the gzeira at any time. Did I cover everything? Another question is regarding Kol Isha during ayahuasca ceremony. Is it mutter? Does it matter why you are drinking ayahuasca? Meaning, is there a difference between someone who is dealing with a serious mental health problem and someone who is drinking for spiritual growth reasons? In order for ayahuasca or other word ayahuasca ceremony, but it's true for other psychedelics, you need music. Without music, some people will get an experience, a lot of people will not get an experience. If they do get an experience, it's not going to be with the same depth and the same power as a ceremony with music. Therefore, somebody asked me very recently, either a facilitator, he asked whether he could play music when he serves. So 3 weeks now. Answer is, the music is an integral part of the healing process. You're not doing it for enjoyment, you're doing it for healing process, and therefore it's permitted. How about Kol Isha? Are you allowed to listen to a woman singing? Is it a tzera refuah? Some people claim, some practitioners claim that yes, having a lady singing together with a man singing, having the female energy together with the male energy helps the ceremony. Okay, I could hear that. But I know that it's surely not essential. You could have a very meaningful ayahuasca ceremony or Muslim ceremony with only men singing. Would a woman singing make a difference? Maybe it will add a little bit. You can't say that it's a tzera refuah, that without the woman's voice, you're not going to have the refuah that you need. You can't say that. Instead of being 100% effective with the voice of a woman, it will be 103% effective. Okay, I'll grant you that. But you can't say that it can't be matir isur. Kol Isha, the machlekes rishonim, if it's a isur d'oraisa or isur d'rabbanan. If it's a isur d'oraisa, there's no heter for tzera refuah unless it's a chodesh sheyesh bo sakana. If it's a isur d'rabbanan, you need a real tzera refuah. I don't think we have a real tzera refuah, Forget about the 103%, I'll be happy with the 100%. I don't think there's any heter for this.
If it's recorded, would it make a difference?
If it's recorded and the woman is not there, if the woman is there and instead of singing, you hear it from a tape, there's no difference. But if she's not there, so hearing her voice is not really more you because she's not there anyway, and especially if you don't know who is singing. So then there's machlekes, and okay, if you go, for example, to Florida, to some places, they have men and women singing.
Kids are run away.
So if the woman is there, there's no heter. If it's on the tape, okay, is it lachatchila? I don't think it's lachatchila. Lachatchila, you should find, Baruch Hashem, today is not like 10 years ago. Today, there's plenty of good places that are serving all different kind of psychedelics in a good, safe environment, and that's where people should go. Even if there's no a shadow of Avodah Zarah and there's no shadow of Kol Isha, you go to Florida, there's 50 people, half are men, half are women. You have 25 women that are dressed or undressed or semi-dressed or three-quarter dressed. That itself is an issue. What are you doing there? You have a problem of Kol Isha, you have a problem of istaklus. If years ago there was no other place. Okay, I understand. Today, we have places, Baruch Hashem.
What about
Baruch Hashem.
if the women are only not singing like solo? just like
Harmony.
like under singing along.
Let's say, if you don't hear them,
You can hear them between a lot of people. They're not like the ones
So-
leading the.
so in the Achronim, there's a big talk about Trei Kale Lo Mishtame. When it comes to Kol Isha, could you sing together with women when you have a lot of people singing and their voices are drowned? The Sridei Eish wrote a tshuva to be matir. People think the Sridei Eish was matir. It's not true. The Sridei Eish was matir only b'tochat chag, and only together with many other tzirufim. It's really not simple at all, because there's a mefurash gemara in Kiddushin that this is not permitted. And there's Rishonim and Achronim that write mefurash that men and women singing together is not permitted. There's a lot to talk about this, but the bottom line is it's not permitted. Trei Kale Lo Mishtame is a concept that you find in the Gemara in Megillah, when two people are saying Hallel, two men are saying Hallel. When you have one man and one lady that are singing together, it's not like Trei Kale Lo Mishtame. You could clearly hear each one's voice because it's different pitch and different things. Besides that, the Gemara in Megillah says there's a difference between if it's Choviv. If it's Choviv, we don't apply the Kala of Trei Kale Lo Mishtame. Right? For men, a woman's voice is Choviv. Everybody enjoys listening to a woman singing more than a man singing. That's fact. That's the teva of a person, that's the Yetzer Hara of a person. So it's Choviv. So that's another reason why the klal of Trei Kale Lo Mishtame doesn't apply. So, halacha l'maaseh, there is no heter. If it's sakonas nefoshes, if a person is mamish in a matter of sakonas nefoshes, and there is nowhere else to do a psychedelic ceremony but this place that has a woman singing, let him ask a shaila. Maybe we'll have a heter.
The person's already
Maybe.
there. The person
What?
starts singing, you should go out.
Yes? Yes?
Is it not possible that some healing have to come both from the feminine and the masculine joint together?
I don't really believe that. It might take a little longer. You'll get there.
See, we don't need to take every shortcut.
Right. Take shortcut. As long as it doesn't involve a issue. But here you want to take a shortcut that involves an issue and say that the issue on the Torah doesn't apply because I need to take that shortcut. So take a little longer.
He's not doing this for honor. He's not doing it for pleasure.
It's okay. I understand. You're not doing it for no. It's still Kol Isha Be'ervo. Another issue I want to mention that people tend to overlook. They get so intent on psychedelic trip that they forget that there's the issue of yichud. A woman heard about a wonderful practitioner and wants to do a private session with him. It's a problem of yichud. Okay? So if it's a goy, the fact that his wife is present is not helpful. Or if it's a yid and his wife is a goy, it's not helpful either. There's no balo be'ir doesn't work for goy. The wife could be present and there's still a issue of yichud. So that's something that people have to remember.
And would a video, if a lady wants to go to a male facilitator and her husband could see through a video and he's in town and he can walk in at any time.
He's in town?
He's in town.
So forget about the video. You have a head about a video.
But he's also the facilitator.
Okay.
Let's say is her therapist also. So there's Liba Gaspa. I don't know if that would make a difference too. But that was the shayla that was submitted.
But Balo Be'ir.
Right. Even with Liba Gaspa.
Listen, if there is no other option, I would we could work on it.
Okay.
But that's okay. I think this is the last question. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was asked here that in the middle of ceremony, let's say there's some ladies and they home alone, or they sing alone. And it was asked if you're allowed or you have to walk out. Said, if I understand correctly, that you have to go out.
Yeah, either you have to go out or you have to tell the ladies to be more quiet. Right?
But sometimes people are in a journey and to walk out is just not safe.
Okay. If it's really not safe, you're saying it's a constant process for him to go out?
Well, they might think in a moment that they're okay, but if they walk out, then
okay. I mean, normally, the place you went to, you have to check the place beforehand and make sure that such issues are not going to come up. For example, they tell you that, no, the women in this place are not allowed to sing, or are allowed to sing only quietly that the men don't hear. So if at some point the women are starting to sing too loud, it's part of the agreement. You tell the facilitator, please tell the ladies to be more quiet. You don't have to walk out. If it's a place where you can't make such request, maybe it's a place you shouldn't go to begin with.
Could one just be Messiah Das from the lady singing and pay attention to something else?
If you have no choice, yes. If you're on a train, you're in a plane, you're traveling to California, and suddenly in the back of the plane you have two lady singers that decided to make a show. You're not going to jump out of the window. So what could you do? Yeah, you have to make Messiah Das. That's the best you could do. But that's not a heta.
It's not a heta.
But it's the best you could do, yes. The last question.
Yeah, it's a question.
Okay, let me finish my list. Would it be, this is the last question on my list, so afterwards, would it be okay to take psychedelics on Shabbos?
That was my question. Friday night. We did it with guided shamans. They did whatever they did on Friday night. That was the story. I asked the rabbi, he said it was okay, but I want to hear yours.
You have two rabbis and you have three opinions. It's not a simple question to answer. If somebody is doing it for healing, he really needs it, and this is what's available. There's nothing else available. I'm not going to stop him from doing it on Shabbos. He needs it. Most people who do it for mental health reasons, we could consider them Halachic raguf, most probably people who suffer from anxiety, from depression, from not being functional in some way. I'm not going to prevent him from having the healing that he needs, or the next opportunity is going to be in 3 months. I'm not going to do that to him because of Shabbos. But the might say what's going to happen, what might very well happen, is all kind of memories and traumas are going to come up, and he might have a very difficult trip, right? Where's the Shabbos Menucha? Where's the Einek Shabbos? Maybe the Einek Shabbos is from the healing that he'll experience and he'll get after the ceremony. He'll be in a much better place. That's true. But during that time, he's in a very dark place. And it's not Einek Shabbos. Is a person allowed to put himself in such a place? If he really needs it, yes. But if he has any other alternative, he should really consider doing it not on Shabbos. That's my answer.
What about other medicine, which is heart opening, more embodiment, more connected with reality, so it's not like...
If there's no shash of having difficult memories of trauma, I don't see why,
But he's living with them all the time. Anyways.
Excuse me?
He's living with them all the time anyways. It's a little more trauma, a little less trauma.
It's a lot more. When a person is in ceremony and he's having a hard time, and hopefully nobody should have a hard time in ceremony, but when it does happen, it's very hard. It's not easy. As hard as a person is suffering, the rest of the week, this could be 10 times more worse. So, as much as a person could do it a few days later or a week later, at on Shabbos, you should try to do that.
He does on Thursday and half of the trip you're going to do.
Okay. Then sometimes a person can do it on Sunday because he might suffer.
Right. So why?
Okay.
That's
right. Okay.
Does it have a din of Michael Brian because healthy people do it also?
So that's a good question. Do you say a bracha on psychedelics? It depends which psychedelics. Mushroom is a food, right? Whether you eat the dried mushroom as it is, it's food, or you make a tea out of it, it's food. You say bracha, shahakal. Ayahuasca, I'm still waiting for somebody who will tell me that ayahuasca tastes good. Right? So, if it doesn't taste good, the halacha is you don't say a bracha on a medicine that doesn't taste good. So there's no bracha. Some other things you might have to say, I don't know. Yeah, one second.
The psychedelics like mushrooms or ayahuasca is like a spirit that's connected to either the mushrooms are guiding the person, or ayahuasca you have Mother Aya guiding the person, talking to the person. That talking that goes on during the journey, that's the neshama. How does that connect?
Yes, that's what I explained before. The healing and the teaching, the revelation, the insights that come during the ceremony, I understand that it all comes from, or most of it comes from the neshama. I can't guarantee that everything comes from there. There's always vomitating, but for the most part, it comes from the neshama. I do want to mention, one of the questions was, what type of ceremonies and language are okay in a ceremony? Especially in ayahuasca, they talk about, in the Goyim, talk about mother ayahuasca or grandmother ayahuasca, referring to the spirit of the plant. This is treif. This is not a language that should ever exist among Fumayim. Okay? It's true that every plant has its spirit. There's Chazal about that. Every plant has its spirit. And when you take a plant, when you ingest a plant, automatically you're connecting with the plant and with its spirit, and the spirit works on you in different ways. But to idolize the spirit, to speak about it as of mother ayahuasca, grandmother ayahuasca, is mamash treif. Spirits, plants, and their spirits were created by Ribono Shel Olam to do their job. They do their job and nothing more. It's up to you to choose to benefit from the plant and their spirit, or not to benefit by not taking psychedelics. He's saying this depending on what your rabbi will tell you. If he tells you it's avodah, don't take psychedelics, I can't help. But it's your choice to decide whether to take the plants in and to benefit from the healing of the spirit. But to idolize the spirit is not acceptable.
So the spirit that's connected to the plant is what arouses the neshama to connect to the nefesh.
Maybe not. I'm not saying this. How it works, I have no idea. The ikaro, one person asked about ikaros. Do I still have time, or maybe I should? Ikaros is a name for the songs that are being used during the ceremony. I'll talk about ayahuasca because that's where it's most common. There's really two ways to practice ayahuasca. There's ayahuasca that's being done in the Western world most people over here. They serve ayahuasca, they sing songs, whatever songs they want, whatever songs you want. You know, call it ikao if you want, call it not ikao. The music, the singing stimulates the healing, and that's what it is. There are few tribes, not all, there are few tribes in Peru, in the jungle, who use ayahuasca and other plants on a much, much higher level. Let's give you an example. You know, in the middle of a ceremony, ayahuasca, and this person is suffering from anxiety. Now, the plant for anxiety is mint, let's say. Okay? So, the facilitator will come to this private person in the middle of the group ceremony. The shaman will come to him and will sing a special ikao, the mint ikao. Every plant has its own personality, every plant has its own spirit, every plant has its own ikao, every plant has its own nigun. And when the shaman sings that ikao, the ikao of the mint, he activates the power of healing of the mint. Either he will give the person some of mint juice to drink, and at the same time sing the song of the mint, or sometimes just singing the nigun of the mint will be enough to activate the healing power of the mint and help him heal from his anxiety. That other person is suffering from depression. The shaman will come to him and will sing him the ikao of the plant that's specific for healing depression. Because the nigun of the plant activates the power of the plant. The power of the plant, the power of the spirit. And that's where I was a little concerned for a long time, for many years, you know, how does this work? Until I came to the conclusion that it's not Avodah and it's not Kishuf, it's just powers that Hashem put into the plant. There's a beautiful piece from Rav Nachman Baraslav on the Pasuk. When Yaakov Avinu sent his children to Mitzrayim for the second time to retrieve Shimon, he told them, Im kein zois asu kochu mizimras ha'oretz beyadchem v'oviu lo ish mincho. Kochu mizimras ha'oretz. Rashi says kochu mizimras ha'oretz, kochu mituv ha'oretz. But in the pasuk it says, it expresses tuv in the word of zimras. Where else do we find that tuv is expressed as zimras? Rav Nachman Baraslav has a beautiful piece over there, and he says that every plant has its own nigun, and every nigun has a power to make the plants grow better and to make the plants have an effect on people better. And he says this is the work of a shepherd. A shepherd needs to know the nature of his animals, what plants they need in order to flourish, in order to grow in the best possible way. And he plays on his flute the song of those plants, so those plants grow better and nourish the animals better, so the animal will do well. And he says this is what Avraham Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu did. This is the type of shepherd they were. He has a long arichus. It's a tikkun for the behemoth. It's also a tikkun for the nefesh of the roye. I don't want to go into it now.
I'm going to add.
But he says Yaakov Avinu sent his children with the nigun of different plants, and that was a gift that he was offering to Yosef, so that Yosef would know which nigun is going to have an influence on him for the best for the best of his life. And nigun could have an influence and could heal. This is what we saw from Rabbi Nachman Baraslav, and this is mentioned in the Torah. So this is not kishuf, it's powers, it's koiches that Rebbeinu Shalom put into the world. Yes?
I wanted to add that recently, random also on the internet, I found this device, it's called a plant wave, and it picks up electromagnetic pulsations of plants,
Yeah.
and it actually plays music, and like the first time I seen it, the emotions that went through my body was unbelievable. It had healing properties. It just put me in a state of calm, and I found this device, and everything you just said is completely
Yeah, but they
true.
don't have different tune for different plants.
What do you mean different tune for different plants? One same tune across the board?
Yeah, that device doesn't have different tune for different plants.
No, if you take it and put it on a cactus, it plays this song. If you take it and put it on a lavender, it's two electromagnetic pulsations,
Okay.
and the vibrations that they give off are, I can't tell you how much. The first time I heard, I started crying. I couldn't believe it. It was like something that did to my body that I never experienced, something I never experienced before. It was beyond comprehension.
Just to finish, right, and I'm going a little bit on a tangent, but Vayetze Yitzchak lo suach basodeh. Vayetze Yitzchak lo suach basodeh, Chazal says that ein tzicho elo tfilo. And when Yitzchak went to daven basodeh, why is it called tzicho? Rabbi Ezra says, because when you daven in a sodeh, your tefillah is not called tefillah. Tefillah is called tzicho. Because siyach hasodeh is the plants of the field. The plants of the field are called siyach. When you daven in a field, your tefillah is called tzicho. And Rav Nachman again explains the reason is because when you daven in the field, the plants are joining you in tefillah. And this is why in the time of Chazal, the Beis HaKnesses was outside the city. Outside the city. And therefore there was a problem, and you had to make sure, Chazal say, it's also to leave, and let somebody be alone in the Beis HaKnesses, because he's going to have to walk back to the city by himself, so you have to stay with him. Well, being the Beis HaKnesses in the middle of town, like we do today, so that nobody has to drive far away, and it will solve everything. Why were they intent on building the Beis HaKnesses outside? The answer is because the quality of the davening is different. When you daven among plants, the plants are joining you in tefillah. I think that,
Just like a shkafa question, you were talking about Hashem created everything, plants to heal. Like, for thousands of years, they didn't have psychotherapy, they didn't have access to plants, besides in South America. How do you explain that it took so long and all these thousands of people that suffered with traumas all the years never had the opportunity to heal?
First of all, I'm not sure that these things were not known. Okay, ayahuasca in the jungle has been practiced for thousands of years.
The Jewish people in Europe,
Right. There were mushrooms even in Europe. Did they know about it? I don't know. Probably not. I mean, we didn't find any source of it. Why? Let me ask you another question. I'm a good Jew. I answer a question with another question. How come, for thousands of years people suffered from infection and died from infection? I mean, my grandmother died when my father was 4 years old. They were riding in a car. She fell. She had a hemorrhage, infection. She was pregnant. She didn't make it. They didn't have antibiotics in those days. For hundreds and hundreds of years, we didn't have antibiotics. How could you explain that we didn't have antibiotics for so long, and now, infection, big deal, nobody's worried about it. It's not even sakanas nefoshes in the mind of some people. Because, no problem, I'll take antibiotics, big deal. Why is it like that? Hashem, antibiotics are, today they make new antibiotics in the labs, but really, every tree, every plant produces antibiotic. chemicals. It was there since Ma'aseh Bereshis. Why did Hashem make it that we didn't know about it until now? The answer is, Ribbono Shel Olam has his cheshbonos. I don't have to come and explain them. You are smart as I am, you could come up with your own answers, I could come with my own answers. There's probably answers that you and I will never get. Ribbono Shel Olam has his cheshbonos. The same thing with psychedelic. Psychedelic is the antibiotic of the mind. You know? Why is it that Ribbono Shel Olam didn't make this available to the public till today? Ribbono Shel Olam has his cheshbonos. I don't have to answer that.
Going back to the observant, if let's say I buy a Raphael online, right? Raphael
Yes.
online, and I read there that this was made by some shaman, whatever jungle, and they pray to the Raphael, whatever. If this Raphael has a,
It's okay. You could use it, even though they claim that they prayed it. This is in addition to the weird properties of Raphael. Raphael has properties, right? Is it considered psychedelic?
No.
I don't think it's psychedelic altogether. But Raphael has its qualities, its healing qualities. They want to pray, and they think that their praying is going to enhance the properties of the Raphael. That's their business. It doesn't make you. It's a sugya in itself. I can't be married now about this, but it's okay. I would advise, if you could find a Raphael that doesn't claim that they prayed on it. So, to be clean, achek me'akir. But be'etzem, al pi halacha, it's not a problem.
Is there lechatchila with ayahuasca also to get from a hamish source? Because maybe the person davened to maybe it was a takriv.
The difference between your shaila and his shaila is that he knows that they pray. They put on the website, they write that we prayed. Mm-hmm. You're saying maybe. Mm-hmm. That's mafurch in Shulchan Aruch in Yeradei Esmin Kufnin Hey. If you don't know, it's mutter. Yes.
Just to refine something that you were sharing about the aspect of Avodah Zarah and bringing in spirits. And I want to be very particular about this, but when we bring it, can one evoke or call in the presence of tzaddikim and avad and imahot as a source of support in that space, an energetic support? So I'm not praying to them as a vehicle for healing, but more so evoking in a protection, you could say, or a layer of kedusha that I'm working within, like a field, an energetic field of kedusha that then, obviously the healing's coming from Hashem, but is it problematic to even call upon the spirits in that way?
I'm not giving my okay to that. To call upon the Imaot and the Tzaddikim, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, to call upon them to come and protect, I'm not okay with it. What you could do is you could ask Hashem to send them as protection. What you could also do is imagine that they are there. You could bring them down by imagining, by visualizing, Miminir Michael, Mismali Raphael, whatever. Or by imagining Abraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu. You could imagine them. But to ask them to come, you could ask Hashem to send them. That you could do.
What about
okay? Am I clear?
I think so. It's a nuance.
Yeah, and you should be,
You could presence them, but not
specific. I'm being makil by allowing for this nuance. Okay? Don't push me further than that.
What about shyness? What about shyness?
Okay, I don't want to go on because I think I took enough time. Okay, you could ask me afterwards.
Next forum.
Maybe.
Should we take a few minute break?
Yeah, I don't mind.
That's like so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you לרב שמרלה. 8:59. לא נשאר לי זמן. צריך להעביר לו כבר על הדף.
סליחה.
בוא תשב.